Hey, greetings, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Alan West, and welcome to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
You gotta light 'em up before they burn it down. Better dig deep and put 'em in the ground. Blood on their hands, they're hellbound. Save us all. They're gonna burn it down. Save us all before they burn it down.
This episode of the Steadfast and Loyal podcast brought to us by our friends at the United States Concealed Carry Association. Click Learn More below right now to activate your U.S. Concealed Carry Association membership. The United States Concealed Carry Association helps responsibly armed Americans like you and I prepare for the before, during, and after of a self-defense incident. USCCA members get life-saving education, expert training, plus self-defense liability insurance. Plus, it's risk-free with their money-back bulletproof guarantee. Click Learn More right now to explore membership, and don't wait until it's too late. Click Learn More right now. And as always, the United States Concealed Carry Association is not an insurance company. A policy has been issued to the USCCA by Universal Fire and Casualty Insurance Company. That policy provides the association and its members with self-defense liability insurance subject to its terms, conditions, limitations, and exclusions. Hey, greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the Steadfast and Loyal podcast. And I'm joined by Dr. Kenneth Hartman. And Dr. Kenneth Hartman is with Our Community Salutes, OCS. It is a national nonprofit organization helping communities recognize, honor, and support high school seniors who plan to enlist in the United States Armed Services after graduation. It was founded by Dr. Hartman, who is an educator and also a former United States Army officer. Go Army, Army strong, beat Navy. In 2009, to provide these enlistees and their parents with guidance, information, resources, and community support from like-minded enlistees and parents as their son or daughter transitions into military service. Dr. Ken Hartman is an e-learning authority, former university professor, administrator, consultant at several leading universities, and is, as stated, the founder of Our Community Salutes. Dr. Hartman holds degrees from the State University of New York at Geneseo, Michigan State University, and a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania. Hopefully he doesn't have anything to do with the Penn Biden Center and classified documents. Our community salutes includes community leaders, government officials, educators, businessmen, and veterans who feel strongly in the importance of community support and recognition of the patriotic young adults who wish to enlist in the military after graduation. Dr. Ken Hartman, Army Strong, thanks for joining us here at the Steadfast and Loyal podcast.
Colonel, it is an absolute honor to be with you.
Just Alan.
Yes. Alan, thank you very much. It's an honor to be with you and all your fans.
My pleasure. So 2009, what inspired you to start this incredible organization?
So in 2009, in a moment of weakness, I agreed to serve on our local school board here just outside Philadelphia in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. That's about a 2.5-hour podcast in and of itself about a nightmare that was. But anyways, one of the things I discovered when I was on that board was that we were doing nothing to recognize a small number of kids who were graduating and who were enlisting in the military. As you indicated before, I'm an old soldier, an old armored cav guy, but I was an officer like you. I went through ROTC a million years ago. These kids aren't going off to West Point, aren't going off to Nevis. They're back in 2009, they were going off to war, and we weren't doing anything. So I organized a dinner for all the kids in my county. I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. I didn't know where I was going to have it. I didn't know if anybody was going to come. But I wanted to try. And sure enough, that first dinner in 2009 was so magical when we got all the veterans and active duty recruiters and leaders in the community. It was just a magical experience. The Army did a story on it about 4 months later. I got a call from a woman in Pittsburgh saying, hey, I heard you in South Jersey. Can you help me do that in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, sure, I got the website, I got the name. We'll just call you our Community Salute to Pittsburgh. So in year 2, we had 2 locations. And then the word over the last 14 years has really gone out. And we've gone from 2 locations to 10 locations to 20 locations to 50 locations and 60 locations to 70 locations all over the country, including Puerto Rico. So in a nutshell, we've honored literally thousands of high school enlistees, tens of thousands of people attending these events. The 1% of young people that decide to put their country before themselves so that their classmates have the freedom and liberty to pursue their dreams. And that's what OCS is all about.
You know, I think it's so important because, like you said, this is for the young men and women that are enlisting. And most times they're in the shadows. We never know about them. Maybe we see the little recruiting centers in the strip malls or what have you. But there's no big send-off. There's no big passing of the torch. And that's really the space that our community salutes is filling. So now that you've expanded, how do you continue to grow this and how do you continue to support it?
So it's purely grassroots, organic. We rely on individual volunteers, literally hundreds of them that do garage sales during the summer to pay for these events. Individual Americans that are willing to support these kids and what we do for them. And foundations and grants that we get. We do not ask for, nor do we want any federal government money. It's not the federal government's job to thank these kids. It's the communities. It's your listeners. Yeah. And so we unfortunately always come up short. We have like about 10 locations this year. We'll do 50 ceremonies across the country. Wow. But honestly, Alan, we have another 10 in major locations around the country. We just don't have the resources, the dollars to support these events because, as you can well imagine, they're not cheap. Because we want to do a great event. We want something, and we do something that Harvard or Yale or Princeton would do for their freshmen because these kids are just as important.
Well, I think they're more important. Because these kids are the ones standing on freedom's ramparts, so the kid can go to Harvard and go to Pennsylvania and in some cases not support what they're doing, but they are supporting and defending their right to have free speech and freedom of expression or petition their government for redress of grievances. So I got to ask you the tough question. How many of these chapters do we have here in the Lone Star State of Texas?
We'll probably, again, everybody can go to our website at ocsusa.org to see. I believe we're going to do a 5 or 6 of them in Texas. We've had a lot of ceremonies. We've had upwards of over 10 in Texas. I can, off the top of my head, Dallas, Fort Worth, San Antonio, El Paso. We're all over the state. But again, a lot of our ceremonies in some small communities were wonderful, but they couldn't raise the funding or the volunteers went away. So we're growing in so many locations, including the Houston area as well.
So some of the people that are associated with you are really astonishing. I mean, we're not talking about just your run-of-the-mill folks. We're talking about some A-level A-listers out there. Share with us some of the people that are associated with you and our community salutes.
So we've got a great national board. Some of the people that your listeners may be familiar with is Robert Wilkie, former VA secretary under Donald Trump, Julie Levin, Mark Levin's wife, 3-star, 4-star generals, command sergeant majors, and obviously some people who served in senior rank, many veterans, in fact, most of all veterans, that are there because they understand the importance, especially today. As we all know, the military is having a very difficult time in getting young people to serve. So they've stepped it up. We also have been very blessed by having the senior military leadership involved with our community salutes. No shortage of secretaries and, for example, our event in Boston last year, the Chief of Staff of the Army, General McConville, was at that event. 750 kids that we honor there. So we've been very blessed to get them involved because what they find out is that the kids who come to our ceremonies, nearly 100% of them get on the bus. And they can't afford to lose any of it, which makes sense when you surround them with people like yourself, people in their community, the moms and dads, many who have never served. All of a sudden now they understand what their kid is doing, and they get behind them. And that's what makes it that important.
Well, you connect them to the band of brothers and sisters, and that is so important. And again, I say you pass on that torch. So let's say I am Joe Schmuckatelli, Omaha, Nebraska, and I have heard about your organization, and I want to put something together. Walk us through the process how that would happen.
It's so simple. You can just go to ocsusa.org. There's a link on there, there's a form on there you can fill out to say, I'm interested in starting an OCS chapter. If you aren't necessarily wanting to start a chapter because it's going to require a lot of people and a lot of time to do that, which is fine. We can also plan for next year. One simple thing that everybody can do by going to ocsusa.org is sign our virtual thank you card to the class of 2023. Our goal is to get 1 million Americans to sign that card by the 4th of July. So the 150,000 kids that make this decision know that their community and their country is behind them. You know, every year, 5.6 million kids graduate from high school. Mm-hmm. And yet the military only needs 150,000 to fill their ranks, and they can't do it. So we've got to get behind those kids that aren't making that decision and let them know that not only do we have their back, but we also support their decision. And one other thing that I think you appreciate, we give every one of them our little 96-page guide to our founding documents, mm-hmm. with information about our founders and so forth. Because every one of these kids, as you know, yep. like you and I, took an oath to defend something they know nothing about. So we not only acknowledge them and thank them, but we also challenge them to understand the oath that they've taken. So again, we give this challenge according to others, but it's very, very important for these young people to understand the founding principles that they're taking an oath to defend.
You know, I was absolutely, just honored to be at my son-in-law's graduation from Fort Jackson basic training last summer. You know, he's at the University of North Texas working on his commission, but he wanted to enlist first, and he's in a reserve unit here. And when you look at those young men and women out there from all different types of backgrounds, those are the ones that make this country unique, that make this country special, because they don't take a note to a political party, to an ideology. They take a note to exactly what you just showed right there, which is our rule of law, the Constitution of the United States of America. And it's so important that we celebrate them more than we celebrate anybody else, because they are the means by which the longest running constitutional republic will continue to live on. So as you're now, 14 years into this, what are the lessons learned? What are the reset goals and objectives that you look going forward?
Well, the couple things. Try to educate Americans to understand that 75% of the kids that we honor are only going to serve 4 years. So in 48 short months, they're going to be out and they're going to be going someplace. And unfortunately today, 50% are ending up in their parents' basements because they haven't prepared. So those communities, those community leaders, those business people who are listening to the show today, if you want these young people to come back to Texas, you want them to come back to their hometowns, you better be a partner with us and welcoming them and thanking them as they go out and communicating with them, because we not only do we want them to go in, but we also want to make sure that they and their moms and dads have a pathway to success when they get out. And unfortunately today, the highest rate of suicide is young veterans of that age. And the unemployment of that group is that high. So one of the things that we're trying to do, besides just recognizing, is to provide that support, to get the community involved with this. Business operators, business owners, come to our ceremonies. We don't charge anybody anything to come to our events because we want the community there. So one of the lessons learned I have is, besides helping get the word out, because not everybody knows, in fact, very few people know about our community solutions because we don't have a lot of money, in fact, any money for advertising. It's getting the word out, and then also getting the word out about who these kids are, and that they are looking for leaders. They're gaining leadership, they're gaining education, but they need our help in making that pathway back to their communities where they came from.
You're a 501c3 organization, so that means your contribution to you is tax deductible. What's the best way that people can donate to you? Online, send a check, or do you hold fundraising events to help yourself out?
So yes, and yes. So they can go on our website, They can use a credit card, or they can write us a check, or they can make, if they're a business and they have their business will match them. We have that. If they're a veteran, or if they're on active duty and they're listening to your program, we are a member of the Combined Federal Campaign. We're authorized so they can use CFC. But that's the easiest way. Just come to our website. If they want to do a fundraiser in their community, well, again, come to the website and fill that out, and we'll get back to them right away.
And corporate sponsorships of events?
Huge. Yeah, we're very blessed to have right there in Texas. USAA is one of our biggest corporate sponsors. A little shout out to USA. They've been with us from day one. Yeah. Navy Federal, others like that. But we need more. Everybody says they want to hire veterans, and I'm happy to hear that. Well, you don't start recruiting them, a year or two after they get out. Yeah. Now's the time that these businesses who want to hire veterans should be talking to them and their moms and dads about career opportunities. No different than what the colleges do with these kids in terms of educational opportunities. So businesses that want to hire veterans should contact us, and we'd love to get them as one of our corporate partners to help us to in this time and age where our national defense truly is at stake.
Any idea or any concept or desires of expanding the headquarters and making regional areas whatsoever that people can, link into?
Boy, that would be wonderful someday to do that. Right now, we're, like I said, as grassroots as you can possibly get. We've come a long way in the last, now this is our 15th year. There's no doubt in my mind that we are going to do about 50 ceremonies. We could easily do 100 next year. It's just having the funds to do it. We have wonderful volunteers, but the volunteers need support, whether it be IT support, whether it be materials and so forth. So with a little luck and God's blessings, that He's been very good to us so far. We're going to make that number. But anybody who wants to help us out, again, go to ocsusa.org, and we will take any volunteer, any contribution that helps us.
If Santa Claus were to show up and say, hey, I've extended out of December into January, Dr. Hartman, what are 3 things that I could give to you? What would you tell old Santa?
Well, maybe a check for a couple $1 million would help so that we could rapidly expand what we're doing. And by the so that's probably number one for us. Prayers, because these kids and these families need our help, and we could only go as quickly as fast as Americans are helping us to do that. And so each day our prayers are given that people like the ones who are listening to your show right now and your fans will help us. That's probably the 2 things. We've got the system down. We can scale this thing. The only thing stopping us from scaling, quite frankly, is the people knowing who we are and making that charitable donation. Everybody knows who the USO is. Everybody knows who our heroes are. Not many people know about OCS, but now they do, thanks to you.
Well, it's my pleasure and honor, because I think it's our duty and responsibility as veterans, and having worn that uniform and accepted that torch of liberty, is to pass it on and to recognize the young men and women that want to continue to light the way of liberty forward for this great nation. So once again, how can people contact you and be in touch with our community salutes, Dr. Hartman?
It's real simple. Just go to our website. We have forms there at OCS, Oscar Charlie Sierra, OCSUSA.org, OCSUSA.org. There's information there. There's a form. You can make a donation. You can sign the virtual thank you card, which is critically important. I think we're going to make it. I think we're going to get 1 million Americans to do that and really show that there is still a belief in our America, in spite of everything you hear out there. The military is still our greatest institution, and at the day that does not become that, we're all in a lot of trouble. So help us make and keep the military in our hearts and prayers, and help us to honor these kids by going to our website.
Well, thank you so much. And, I'm reminded of the story of Audie Murphy, who, grew up not too far away from us, right here where I am in Keller, Texas. There was no celebration when he raised his right hand. But of course, when he came back from World War II as the most decorated soldier in the United States Army in World War II, there was plenty of celebrations. But let's make sure that we have the celebration on the front end and not on the back end. So God bless you all. God bless you, Dr. Ken Hartman, what you're doing, and everyone there at Our Community Salutes. Thank you so much, and Army Strong.
Thank you, sir, very much.
I want to thank Dr. Ken Hartman of Our Community Salutes for joining us and letting us know about how we can be more engaged in our respective communities in paying honor and regard and respect to young men and young women who continue to raise their right hand, saying that they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That is so important, because if we don't have these young men and women willing to stand on freedom's ramparts, we won't have the freedoms and liberties that we enjoy in this, the longest running constitutional republic that the world has ever known. And if you like this podcast, please click the like button and share it with others so that we all can stand true on freedom's ramparts and be steadfast and loyal.
Before they burn it down.